Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to the video. Today's vehicle is a 2008 Saturn Vue. It's in for a full detail, so let's have a look around. Alright, so this vehicle, like most others on the road up here in Canada, has driven on lots of wet and mucky roads recently, so it's absolutely covered in dirt, especially on the back end. But most concerningly, it's got a fair bit of salt on it too that will eat away at this vehicle if it's not dealt with. Now moving inside, and despite having rubber floor mats, the carpets are still in pretty rough shape. The seats are dirty and stained, and there's a good layer of dirt and dust covering almost every surface in here. And I was also warned that there had been rotten potato juice spilled in here a while ago, and is the likely cause of some of these carpet stains. And now just before we jump into the video, take a quick second and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos like this. I post a new video every week, so make sure you've got the bell on so you get notified when they go live. Alright, well I've got a fair bit of work ahead of me to completely transform this vehicle, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, so getting started on the pre-wash rinse here, and for those of you who live in a more northern climate where they salt the roads, you're probably aware of how bad that can be for a vehicle and how quick it can start to rust if it's not washed regularly in the winter. So I would always recommend at the very least spraying the vehicle off once a week, especially the underside and in the wheel wells, to get that salt removed. Moving to the back here and where the majority of the dirt and salt has collected, and you might notice that I'm just wearing a t-shirt this time, and that's because the weather has drastically improved from last week where it was -40 and colder than the North Pole. There's no need for a bunny hug or winter gloves, and with this being so covered in dirt, it's important to spray out the crevices really well to get all that dirt flushed out. Now, like I mentioned earlier, spraying out the wheel wells is really important, especially the inner lip where the salt will collect. So I always make sure to spray that out really well, as that's typically one of the first places a vehicle would start to rust. Now to spray off the underside of this vehicle, I'm using this undercarriage washer, which as you can see makes doing this super easy. I finally caved and went out and bought this last week because I was getting tired of having to kneel on the ground and practically stick my head under the vehicle to spray them off. So I'm definitely glad that I did, because with the angle this can spray at, it's going to do a much better job than I could with just the wand. And if you guys are curious as to where you can get one of these, I've got the link down in the description, so feel free to give it a look if you're interested. Now for the foam bath, I'm using a few ounces of my regular car wash soap, which produces some nice thick foam, and then I'll go around the vehicle with a boar's hair detail brush and get down into all the crevices, like around the mirrors, the emblems, and of course behind the gas door, all the places my wash mitt is going to miss. Alright, so after getting the vehicle rinsed off, I managed to get Mike out here to give me a hand drying this vehicle. And I don't know what it is about this guy, but every time there's music playing, the garage becomes a dance floor and he's out there busting some moves. He definitely has a hard time staying focused though, but at least it's entertaining to watch. Alright, so with all the customer's personal items removed from the vehicle, it's time to get started on vacuuming. And the first thing I'll do is go around all the doors and interior trim and get down into the crevices to get all the dust out with a boar's hair detail brush. And these are super helpful to get down into the cup holders or door handles where it's impossible to reach with a vacuum. Then for the more delicate areas that are more prone to scratches, I'll use the ultra soft brush to gently loosen the dust so it can be sucked away. Now moving down to the floors, and surprisingly there wasn't too much for debris in this vehicle, which was kind of nice as vacuuming can be a pretty time-consuming process sometimes. Alright, so getting started on these dirty seats, and after spraying on some of my carpet solution, I'm using the drill brush to agitate and get that dirt loosened up. And then starting with the extractor, I'll make several passes over the seat, continuing to spray water to help to further dilute the remaining solution. And I've probably said before, but when you're extracting on seats, you want to make sure you're pressing down fairly hard over the last couple passes to make sure you compress the foam underneath so you can get as much of the water out as possible. And in terms of how long it takes for the seats to dry, they definitely take longer than carpets do. But with the heater running in my garage, keeping it around 70 degrees Fahrenheit and the vehicle doors open, they're usually dry within about 4 to 5 hours. Here's a quick before and after shot on this seat. It looks brand new again. Alright, so moving down to the carpets and using the same combo of my drill brush and the Chemical Guys Fabric Clean, dilute 20:1 to get the dirt loosened up. I'll then make several passes with the Bissell. And for any of you who are curious as to what my process is when using the extractor, it's pretty simple in that I do my first few passes while spraying on hot water, and I'll watch to see the color of the water coming up. If it's still dirty or there's still solution coming through, I'll either make more passes or I'll add more solution and then use the drill brush again. And once I see the water coming out clear, I'll switch to just extracting to get them as dry as I can. And if you guys are curious, everything I use in these videos is linked down in the description, so feel free to check it out if you're interested. So definitely one of the dirtiest areas of the carpet was the driver's footrest area, as you saw in the opening shots. And you can see it's made the solution look like chocolate milk. So knowing how dirty it is, I'll make sure to make lots and lots of passes where I keep spraying hot water down to ensure I can get as much of the dirt out of there as possible. And if you guys are at all curious to see things from my perspective while I detail, head on over to the second channel, the Detail Geek 2, after this video, and check out my Clean With Me series, where you'll see all the good stuff like pressure washing, vacuuming, and extracting just as I see it, along with some behind the scenes stuff like cleaning my garage floor and some of my tools after a really dirty detail. Here's all the dirty water the Bissell sucked out of this car. Gross. Now for the rear floor mat where the suspected rotten potato juice is, it's far easier to use the pressure washer on this, so I'm spraying down a very liberal amount of the carpet solution since I don't have to worry about not being able to get it all out, and then I'll let it sit for a few minutes to really let it penetrate the stains before I use the drill brush on it. Okay, so getting started on the interior trim, and after spraying on some of my Meguiar's D101 APC diluted 10:1, I'll agitate with a detail brush and then wipe everything down with a slightly damp microfiber towel and quickly follow up with a dry one to get any remaining APC residue. Then for these dirty pedals, I'll bust out the McCulloch steamer and spray some 4:1 APC on the pedals and blast it with steam and the brush attachment to get them nice and clean. Now to really make the interior pop, give it some UV protection and make it look new again, I'm using my favorite product, and that's 303's Aerospace Protectant, which is going to dry to a nice matte finish and leave the entire interior looking incredible. Moving back outside, and to really add some gloss and depth back to this black paint, I'll apply a synthetic paint sealant, and one thing I always do is prime my pad before I start by spreading around a toonie sized amount of product to ensure the pad is completely covered. Then I'll add a little bit more before I start on the first panel. And one of the super nice things about this Meguiar's Mirror Glaze sealant is how easy it is to remove compared to some other waxes, which can require quite a bit of effort. Now moving to the glass, and I've recently switched over to using this Auto Finesse Crystal glass cleaner, and can honestly say this is the absolute best glass cleaner I've ever used, as it cuts through crud and grime incredibly well, and in a lot of cases I don't even need to flip my towel for a final wipe. Now to revive the ridiculous amount of black plastic trim on the outside of this vehicle, I'm applying 303 again, and you can clearly see how good of a job this stuff does, as it instantly makes the trim look brand new again. Now to dress these tires, I'm using Auto Finesse Satin Tire Cream, which will leave them with a nice matte finish when it dries. Alright guys, and 9 hours later, I've got this Saturn Vue looking super pretty again. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Enjoy the guitar outro, and I'll see you guys in the next one.